Hello all who's watching this video. This is my 1988 Toyota 4Runner. It has the 3.0 V6 in it. This video is just a quick guide on how to change the alternator in one of these trucks. Had a bad day the other day, pulley seized up, wasn't charging my battery, got stuck somewhere, had to get a tow, so I didn't shred the belt. Anyways, so yeah, we're gonna do an alternator replacement, pretty easy. Only need a few tools. That is a ratchet, few extensions, 10 mil socket, of course, a 12, a 14, and a 13, and a deep 12. It's pretty easy. First thing you're going to want to do is take your negative battery terminal off, store that away so it doesn't make a connection with the battery while you're doing the job. After you've disconnected the battery terminal, you are going to start by taking these hoses off. These two on the right here, they're just little like breather vents or some kind of vacuum that goes into this box. You're going to want to disconnect them up here with some hose clamp removers. And then this tube needs to come off of the intake tube itself, or you can pop it off from the valve cover right there. And then this clamp that holds the intake tube onto the throttle body, that is a 10 mil clamp, and that comes off, which will pop the whole intake tube off together when you're ready for that. And then you are going to want to remove the airflow sensor right here. Just take that off, move it to the side. And then the ignition coil wire, mine runs over my tube. I will just pop that off, push that over here so it's out of the way. Getting the actual box off itself, they should be 12 mil sockets. Well, my light just died, that's great. First one you're gonna do, it's under the little neck here. You're gonna be at a 45-degree angle, loosen that until it's free. And then this 12 mil bolt, pop that out. And then there's another one right here. This one is kind of tricky if you can see it. It's down in that cubby. I used a double extension to get that out and then a magnet to pull it out because it is kind of deep in there. Hard to get your hands down in there. So getting this air box out, the easiest way to do it is pulling the intake tube off first, get it up out of the way, and pulling it up going towards the cab of the truck. Because there's this little air dam right here going into the intake, push the air to the engine. That is kind of a pain in the butt getting off. So I would, again, pop this off first, going up that way with the intake system. It will save you a little bit of time. It is a lot easier than trying to pop that off. You just don't have a lot of room with these tubes being stiff and stuff. So I would do it that way. So once you get the airbox out, next thing you're gonna wanna do is to undo this clip right here on the back of the alternator. Things you need to do for that is there's a little clip, just push it in with your finger and then should be able to just move it out, wiggle it out, should come back. After that, I'm gonna do this power connection here. It is a 10 mil bolt that goes on the alternator. You're just gonna want to unscrew that and pull the cable off and pull it to the side. After you get those out, which this is my new alternator, I'm just gonna do this in reverse. You're gonna need a 14 mil socket and a 12 mil socket for the tensioner bolt down there. I would start with doing the 12 mil tensioner bolt on the bottom, because that will give you a little more leeway on the alternator to get out of the way to get the belt off, and then that 14 mil bolt on top to get it off of the engine. Just a closer look, that is what that bolt looks like. Should come right out, and that screws into the alternator behind it. I don't know if I can get a really good reach on it there. Yeah, you can see right there, it goes right into the alternator. So you'll take that out, and then this 14 mil bolt will come out with the alternator behind the bracket. You'll pull that off, and then you'll take the belt off, put your new alternator on, and basically do everything in reverse. You're gonna wanna make sure this belt is on that pulley, and this first top pulley right here, and then the one close to the engine on the bottom. Those are the three that connect in the V. And when you go to put it back on, the amount of tension that you're gonna wanna have on this belt, not too tight, not too loose. So you have a little bit of play there, just so the belt's not too tight, because that will burn through a belt eventually. I'll just give you enough clearance to get your battery that charge from that alternator. Putting this back together, I did the 14 mil bolt first. Started it, didn't tighten it all the way because you're gonna want it to move a little bit when you're adjusting that tensioner. Again, the alternator goes behind the bracket so these pulleys can align correctly. And after that, you will go, I went from under the belt, put the 12 mil socket on, and tighten this, pushing it a little bit with one hand, tightening it with the other. Couldn't get that on video. until it has this amount of tension, and then you do the power connection up top. Again, 10 mil socket with a nut on top, right on top of the alternator, and then all you do is push the back connection in to the back of the alternator until you hear a click. I would put a little bit of conduction grease on there because, you know, these trucks are getting older, and I'm in the Midwest. We have a lot of rust. Who knows what's going to be happening with those connections? We'll just, you know, might as well do it. And then, yeah, we'll go to the airbox. One more thing before I put the airbox back in. Again, I said this truck is from the Midwest. Things are getting kind of rusty. Want to make sure everything goes as smoothly as it can back together. The 3 bolts that hold the airbox in right here, and right there, I'm going to chase with the tap, just make sure those threads are as clean as possible, because the bolts were kind of stiff coming out, and I don't want to risk them breaking next time this box has to come out. Yep. Okay, so I have the airbox basically mocked up going back in. I found it easier that if you start with this back side, coming in at a downwards angle towards the left front of the truck, and then buttoning that side up last, it will make your life a little easier. Because mine, it has that little air dam right there going into the intake. It's easier to make sure that collar goes on first rather than trying to mess with this old tubing, because mine is kind of stiff because it's pretty old. And then, yeah, I'm going to button all this stuff up real quick. Again, it is a bolt back under here, which is a 12 mil. And then a bolt up top here, it's going to go right there. And then a bolt down here, those are all 12 mils that will secure the box itself. And then these 2 lines going back on here, the main tubing go back on the throttle body with the clamp. This tube goes here, and then the coil wire, just going to swing that back over and plug that in. I'll take a video whenever I button this up. Okay, went ahead and got everything buttoned up. Should be about ready to go here. The 3 bolts right there, down there, and under here, secured that main box. These 2 hoses back on, small, big. This tube goes on here. Tighten that clamp on. 10 mil bolt, tighten that down. It's pretty simple, just as you know, you got it out. Make sure you plug the sensor back in and the coil wire back on. Do the negative side of the battery. Mine was 12 mil, put that back on. Haven't done that yet, gonna do that next. And then we should be good to start up. Make sure the system is okay. I just fired her up after I got that battery on. It is idling a little high. It's cold. It's okay. What you're gonna want to see is look on your cluster here. As long as the needle is above the middle line, that indicates that your system is charging. And everything is good to go. Hopefully that helped everybody out, and keep doing these old Toyotas. Thanks.